Welcome to the third video in the series, the climate change scam. In this video we will have a look at some fresh headlines about the Jesuit order's great climate swindle against humanity. But to begin with, I will show you another video of John Coleman from the Weather Channel, explaining once again that everything the news, and what the politicians are saying, is not correct. Let's begin.
And our guest today is just one of those. His name's John Coleman. He was the original weathercaster on Good Morning America, and after that, Coleman founded and served as CEO and president of the Weather Channel. He believes many scientists and politicians have engaged in fraudulent activity based on bad science in a continuing quest for funding. He also explains the one world government motive behind the formation of the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Coleman's our guest on the show today, Skyping in from San Diego, California. Welcome to the show, John.
Gary, thank you. It's great to be with you. Hello to everybody in Florida and in Boston. I wish we had a little global warming for you up there in Boston. Looks like you're going to have a pretty doggone cold St. Patrick's Day this year.
But what about these global temperatures? Our guest, Evan Weber, declared that they are leveling off. Are they still rising?
There's been no warming for 17 years and 6 months, according to all the statistics. So we have hit a plateau in the warming period. Is this the end of the interglacial warming period that has been going on for 12,000 years? Are we about to start cooling off toward the next ice age? Or is this just a pause in the gradual warm-up that comes? Think about it. If we had tried to form a civilization back in the ice age 12,000 years ago, most of the North American continent would have been covered by an ice cap of 400 feet thick. And temperatures would have been so frigid we all would have frozen to death. So thank goodness for the warming that has come with this interglacial period.
So you're saying that all the temperature changes we're seeing are actually natural, wherein the global warming advocates are stating that it's man-made and needs to be, and man's activities need to be tempered.
The warming is 99.99% natural. We're putting carbon dioxide in the air through our burning of fossil fuels. And the entire global warming scare campaign is based on that carbon dioxide. We have pretty well proven that it only creates a fraction of a degree of warming over a decade. It is of general insignificance. It is no threat to our climate of the earth, no threat to our civilization.
How can it be said any clearer than that? There is no threat to the climate, or to our civilization. But the Jesuits, the power that be, don't care much about the real science that people like John Coleman represented while he was alive. All the climate change initiatives we are seeing going on today are very rapidly, because the enemy of souls, the old serpent, called the devil and Satan and his human agents the Jesuit order, knows that their time is short. We are also told in 2019 how the World Economic Forum and the United Nations signed a memorandum to accelerate the implementation of the 2030 Agenda.
This afternoon, the Secretary General and Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, will witness the signing of a memorandum of understanding on a strategic partnership between the UN and the World Economic Forum, which outlines areas of cooperation to deepen engagement between the two institutions and to jointly accelerate the implementation of the 2030 Agenda.
That is why the whole climate change scam is going rampant in the world at the moment. Let's have a look at the headlines.
Canada building interrogation rooms with weapons armories to arrest and prosecute people for climate crimes. This week, we all learned how France is arming up 3,000 new green police to arrest and prosecute people for so-called climate crimes, which could mean almost anything, including exhaling carbon dioxide. What sort of crimes will be prosecuted in Canada using these interrogation rooms and weapons armories? Global governments have recently declared war on nitrogen, the key element in crop fertilizer, and they appear to be poised to start interrogating farmers who apply nitrogen to their crops. Soon, you will hear news of climate confessions from farmers who are thrown in prison for engaging in agricultural practices that might produce food.
As we heard John Coleman say before, that the carbon dioxide is only creating a fraction of a degree of warming over a decade. Just like our two other videos in the series shows, how all the merchants and leaders of the world are following the Pope's encyclical Laudato Si, as he is the one calling for all this. And I quote, "It is urgent to develop policies to reduce emissions of carbon dioxide and highly polluting gases." Next article from Breitbart about the Pope's little helper, Greta.
Greta Thunberg claims a climate crisis is absent from green-obsessed public debate. Governments worldwide are turning their economies upside down to appease the global green agenda push, while issues of importance to ordinary people such as mass migration are largely ignored. But longtime climate activist Greta Thunberg has now claimed that the so-called climate crisis has remained absent from public debate. She also publicly lambasted the EU for being too lenient in its treatment of the much-hated nuclear energy sector. Such attention will possibly be welcome to the WEF affiliate ahead of the launch of her new book, which she reportedly hopes will become the go-to source for the general public on the issue of climate change. Emmanuel Macron says the end of abundance is here. President Emmanuel Macron has warned the French populace that the end of abundance is here, and they should get used to living with less. What we are currently living through is a kind of major tipping point or a great upheaval. We are living the end of what could have seemed an era of abundance, the end of the abundance of products of technologies that seemed always available. The end of the abundance of land and materials including water. However, while it looks like Macron may be right when he proclaims the end of abundance for some people, this is not the case for everyone. Macron's statements come the same month that corporate profits hit record highs amidst a nationwide housing crisis.
How can Macron call it the end of abundance when corporate profits hit record highs? Something surely does not add up, and unfortunately too many still can't see it.
Record corporate profits in France amid household crises. France's CAC 40 stock index, which includes the country's largest companies, just reported its best quarter ever. From a profit perspective, €73 billion represents a 26% increase over 2013. Record-breaking inflation, energy shortages, economic growth nearing recession, and the most difficult times for the average French household since the 2008 financial crisis have all contributed to this year's record.
The rich are getting richer, and the poor are getting poorer. Everything so far is following their plans.
Macron warns sacrifices ahead after end of abundance. French President Emmanuel Macron warned Wednesday that France faced sacrifices in a new era marked by climate change and instability caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine that signaled the end of abundance.
Interesting word, sacrifices, they are using for their quote-unquote new era, which just is another fancy word for New World Order. I wonder if the sacrifices has something to do with the 3,000 new green police they set up, same like the 87,000 IRS agents in the US ready to use deadly force against people who will not comply with the Jesuits' climate change scam.
Climate change? Sheer nonsense, I assure you.
Yes, it is complete nonsense. The last article I will show you in this video is an article from US Catholics, where they tell us again and again that it all has to do with the principles of Catholic social teachings. But before we get to the article, I want to show you a clip of both Joe Biden, but also Donald Trump defending and promoting the Catholic system as the puppets of the Jesuit order, which they both are.
Now, a mere 50 years ago, we had a debate in this country about whether a Catholic could actually be elected president, should be elected president. And now this Jesuit Pope is coming to address a joint session of Congress. What does that say about our country?
The thing I love about this Pope, I got to meet him when I went to his, quote, inauguration. I always thought it was an installation, but the inauguration. And I had the great pleasure of representing the United States of America. My sister was with me, and I sat, Holy Father. And the Pope reached out like this, and he grabbed my hand. He said, I know, Mr. Vice President, you're always welcome here. That is the message he's sending to the world.
And that is the tone he's striking everywhere, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's why he's the single most popular figure in the world today. And not just in Catholic nations, across the board. I mean, look at the encyclical on climate change. It's all about, we have responsibilities. We have to husband this planet. I mean, and I'm excited, quite frankly, as a practicing Catholic. I am really excited by the whole world is getting to see what are the basic essential elements of what constitutes Catholicism.
Right.
We can also agree on the need to stand up to anti-Catholic bias.
It is clear who these two puppets are serving. Let's see the last headline.
Pope Francis blueprint for a better world, post-COVID. COVID exposed our flaws. Can Catholic social teaching mend them? What should a post-COVID-19 world look like? Pope Francis has been thinking about this question for quite a long time, from very early on, in fact. Almost 2 years ago, he delivered a remarkable sequence of post-COVID-19 discourses, in which he laid out the principles needed to anchor global society and the global economy when the pandemic finally recedes. Shortly after that, in October 2020, he issued his prophetic encyclical Fratelli Tutti, on fraternity and social friendship.
Let me just pause here for a moment. It is very important to understand what the Pope means when he say fraternity, which he wrote about in his encyclical in 2020 called Fratelli Tutti. It is about uniting all the world's false religions under one roof, to have them getting ready for the final one world Antichrist religion, which I made another video about on my channel. The article goes on to say,
Pope Francis spells out what learning the lessons of history might look like. He appeals right away to some of the core principles of Catholic social teaching, principles such as the common good, the universal destination of goods, the preferential option for the poor, solidarity, subsidiarity, and care for our common home. Using the analogy of a virus, he argues that we need to build antibodies against the twin ills of indifference and individualism. But, he insists, we must come out of it better, to counter social injustice and environmental damage. Today we have an opportunity to build something different. A century ago, we also had an opportunity to build something different. The world had just come out of a devastating war and a calamitous pandemic. But our forebears failed to make the wise choice. Can we choose a better path this time? The answer to that question might lie in whether or not we take seriously the principles of Catholic social teaching.
A devastating war, they say. Did you know that most wars in the world has been controlled by the Jesuit order from Rome? The same goes for the fake war between Russia and Ukraine, which I will talk more about in one of my upcoming videos, but I would like to show you a few quotes about the Jesuits, and how they have been behind the wars in the world throughout time.
The Jesuits are a naked sword, whose hilt is at Rome, but its blade is everywhere, invisible, until its stroke is felt. The war, the American Civil War of 1861 to 1865, would never have been possible without the sinister influence of the Jesuits. It is my opinion that if the liberties of this country, the United States of America, are destroyed, it will be by the subtlety of the Roman Catholic Jesuit priests. For they are the most crafty, dangerous enemies to civil and religious liberty. They have instigated most of the wars in Europe.
I made another video with more quotes about the Jesuits on my channel, feel free to check it out. In the next video I will be going into the CBDC central bank digital currency, which they are currently having a conference about in Switzerland. You can see more about that on the website cbdc-conference.com. Maybe it is kind of the same like the event 201, a few months before COVID hit back in 2020. News sites has been saying recently that it is coming in December this year. I will try to get a video put together on that as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. We will end this video with a few more words from John Coleman.
So are these just simply scare tactics?
Absolutely, because their total life depends upon it. Now I'm so sad about this as a scientist. This has become a political issue. It has become a mantra of the Democrat Party. Climate change. Sheer nonsense, I assure you.